You are now listening to Tuff Tiger Talk.
You're now rocking with Tuff Tiger Talk on the PRO Media Network. Big ups to the Tuff Tiger Talk Nation out there. Much love to you guys in this live stream. I'm Big Q chiming with the latest episode of Tuff Tiger Talk. So if you're an LSU fan that loves LSU football, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share the show wherever Tuff Tiger Talk fans dwell. In this episode of Tuff Tiger Talk, we're going to be talking about quite a few things, a pretty busy week of news for the LSU Fighting Tigers. It's been a tough season all the way around. A lot of stuff has been going on. We're just going to get through this thing like this. So hit the like button as we proceed. In this episode, we're going to cover several interesting news, notes, and items as the season continuously moves on. LSU tight end Arik Gilbert is considering opting out of the 2020 season as a former five-star prospect. Maul's future with the team. Several reports from The Advocate, also from CBS Sports. We'll get into that news note and item as well. We'll also talk about the other players who also opted out or were suspended this year. We'll go over the list of names that add to what could potentially be Arik Gilbert, as reports are showing that he is pondering opting out of this season. And a lot of people, and truth be told, man, that a lot of people consider this season a loss, especially at LSU. We're not talking about the Jamar Chases and guys like Kerry Vincent and those guys early on, Tyler Shelvin. Those guys opted out early on before the season started, but some of these guys are in the season realize that the season is a loss and they're opting out and choosing just to move beyond it, which it in my opinion, it doesn't really set a good precedent, because once you commit to something, you might as well go through with it. Honor your commitment. Opting out kind of it just looks a little weird to me. That's looks a little funny to me. That's just my opinion. Now let's keep it moving. We'll also talk about a story that was covered by The Advocate, says no one on LSU's coaching staff should feel safe with their job security. We'll cover that article that was dropped. Also, LSU Scott Woodward saying it's more likely the Tigers will play in a bowl game. We'll see. And of course, we'll talk about the Baron Von Rosenberg and the honor that he had received this week. After we talk about the Arik Gilbert situation, we'll have the LSU versus Florida preview. Of course, the Tigers, who are 3-5, are set to take on the Florida Gators, who are 8-1 and are ranked number 6 in the nation. So we'll get into it. And also we'll have an interview from Coach O on Tell the Truth Monday. So we'll start off like this before we get to Coach O. LSU tight end Arik Gilbert is considering opting out of the 2020 season after former five-star prospect Maul's future with the team. Now, Coach Orgeron hopes the tight end will elect to stick with the Tigers, but here's the news, notes, and items. Former five-star tight end prospect Arik Gilbert is considering not only opting out for the rest of the season, reportedly could transfer away from LSU football program, but that Gilbert had missed practice on Monday and was considering a transfer. Now, Coach O addressed Gilbert's status on Tuesday morning during a radio appearance, only confirming that the star tight end is mulling the decision to opt out for the rest of the season. Now, Orgeron only went as far as confirming Gilbert's consideration of opting out for the rest of the 2020 season. It is notable that he's already sending a message of an open door if he wants to come back. That's what he discussed with me, Orgeron told Off the Bench show. I think he opts out and wants to come back. I would definitely take him back. He's a great young man. We treat him like family. Now, 24/7 Sports reported that Gilbert's potential exit points to a desire to return to his home state of Georgia for the remainder of the season, though it is expected that Orgeron and LSU staff will continue to make their case for the talented tight end to remain with the program moving forward. Now, Gilbert is one of the top players in the country coming out of Marietta, Georgia. He's ranked as a number 5 overall prospect in 2020 recruiting class, according to 24/7 Sports Composite. He's tallied 35 catches this season for 368 and just 2 touchdowns of the season. With regular playing time, thanks to a mass exodus of pass catchers from the Tigers, has added Terrence Marshall, Jamar Chase to opt out, on top of Justin Jefferson, and Thaddeus Moss is heading to the 2020 draft. So with that being said, there it is. As Arik Gilbert is considering opting out of the rest of the season. And then on top of that, other reports are saying that he is homesick and considering transferring. So we'll see how that sticks, man. The several reports are obviously going. Now, before we get into the rest of the news, let's see what Coach O had to say from Telling the Truth Monday. Here we go.
All right, guys, Tell the Truth Monday. I thought our team, just like I said after the game, competed very hard, prepared well. The will to win on the sideline was there throughout 60 minutes of the game, evident on our last drive by the offense, a 15-play drive. A lot of young players got a lot of valuable playing time, competed very hard. I give Alabama credit, outstanding football team. They played a great game. There's some great players on that football team. And but you know what? We got to bounce back today. We got to get ready for Florida, another great football team on the road, explosive offense. Some of the things that we have to eliminate is obviously, as I said all season, explosive plays, especially in the passing game. Got to get better pressure on the quarterback. I was pleased that offense scored 17 points. We missed that 4th and short going in to tie the game 7-7. Could have been a difference in the ball game very early. And we didn't get that done, so we have to improve on that stuff. But I thought overall, offensively, we made some improvement in some areas. Any questions?
Hey, good afternoon, Coach. Is there any advantage to getting Max Johnson a start in a game and knowing that he's going to be a full-time starter in a week?
Yeah, I think that's something that we're going to give consideration to this week and look at it. I thought Max played very well. I thought also TJ did some things. That is something we're going to give consideration for this week.
And you past couple of weeks, you've talked about defensive scheme. You talked about players too. Like you've said, can we call plays better? Can we play better? Yes. Throughout the weeks, what's been kind of the core thing that you found schematically that's not working? Is it just different game plans, in-game adjustments? What are the things that you're seeing most?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of it. Everything that you said has happened at some point in the season, and then also execution. It's a combination of both of them.
That's Coach Joe breaking it down, man. And Tell the Truth Monday didn't sound like telling the truth. It sounded like telling a lie Monday to me, to be honest with you. Man, listen. The last matchup against the Alabama Crimson Tide, and I'd rather just forget it after this show. It was a complete disaster. The offense did try, but the defense wasn't there. The effort wasn't there from the defense. You can't tell me no matter how much you try to gaslight the Tuff Tiger Nation, it won't work. We know what good football looks like, and we know what we expect. As a person who follow LSU football, there's a gold standard that we uphold. And this is not gold standard football by any stretch of the imagination. Let's just keep it real. There's a bit of delusion here, and you could attribute it to Coach O as trying to keep it positive. But listen, man, your house is dirty. Keeping a positive disposition about a dirty house is one thing, but also not only just having a positive disposition, but getting off your ass and getting the trash out, mopping the floor and cleaning up is a whole nother thing. That's the next level of it. Okay, I'm going to get my house clean. Now get up off your ass and get it clean. So, the issue is when we're dealing with LSU football, and a lot of these players are doing the same thing. Arik Gilbert could very well be homesick. He probably is homesick. With 2 games remaining in the season to finish out before he can go back home. Now, all of a sudden, he's homesick with 2 games remaining. I think Arik Gilbert is sick, all right, but it ain't got nothing to do with homesick. I think he's sick of the bull crap that's going on at LSU. And he's looking, not only is he trying to opt out for the season, but word is now he's looking to transfer to go somewhere else because he don't feel like possibly that LSU is what he anticipated they're going to be. And to be honest with you, this will be our first losing season since 1999. It's been a while since we became a bum-ass franchise, and we ultimately didn't know what it was to represent winning culture in football here before we ultimately got it right. So, it's interesting to see the mode of the players who are inside of it and the moves that they're doing. And like Terrence Marshall deciding to opt out on the back end. Now you have Arik Gilbert doing the same thing. So, giving up on the season, whatever you want to call it, not committing, fulfilling their obligation and going out with 2 games left to go. Like I said, it's this decision, and it's very odd, man, to see how this all plays out. And of course, there could be something more to this whole deal. And I'm not just talking about Arik Gilbert. I'm talking about the atmosphere that's there in the building. Of course, you had the stuff that was the looming punishment that could be situated with LSU football, that could be coming down from the ignorance or the non-movement of what was done with the issues with players and player activity dealing with other stuff that was going on with women. There's a lot of that. There's also, the stuff with Coach O. After winning the national championship, divorcing his wife for 20-something odd years, and then having your young hot thing on the internet. I mean, that, whether you want to look at that or not, that's an impact of what's going on in the season here and maintaining a winning culture in LSU. If you look at a guy like Nick Saban, who's I look at Nick Saban as a really good coach. He's a turncoat. He went to Alabama, our rivals, and he was here. He brought a championship here to LSU. But the reality is, do you not understand the commitment, the level of commitment that you have to make sure your program is top notch? They have all the money and resources they need. They have all the recruits. And of course, when you see things shake up like it did against Auburn, against Alabama, you can't do that, man. You can't lose games that way. And of course, I'm a Coach O dude. I want Coach O to be the coach and fulfill his obligation to turn the team around. But this is a catastrophic drop from what you did last year. Even if you couldn't do what you did last year because the level wasn't the same, you certainly had enough talent to be able to at least present a winning season. Nobody anticipated a season in which the LSU would be 3-5 with 2 games remaining in the schedule, and ultimately to become just a 500 team. You would have to beat Florida in the swamp, who were nationally ranked, who are gearing up to play for an SEC championship. So, I mean, we'll see how it shakes, man. We'll see how it shakes. Anything can happen in college football, and we'll see how it all turns out. But just to address a lot of the opt-outs, not only you're dealing with Arik Gilberts opting out, potential opt-out, whatever you want to call it, but there were also other guys that got out of there as well. You had Jamar Chase at the onset of the season. Kerry Vincent is another dude, the safety. Tyler Shelvin, the big defensive lineman, nose tackle. You had Travis Moore, another dude who's the defensive end. He opted out. Of course, Terrace Marshall, who opted out after the Texas A&M loss. And like I'm saying, a lot of this opting out is because could it possibly be, and you guys put in the chat what you think, what could it possibly be? Are they losing confidence in the program? That's why they opt in. They're choosing to cut their season short and opt out because they don't see it as a winning proposition. What do you think about that? Because it's intriguing, man. And also a bunch of other LSU players have entered a transfer portal. Everybody from Connor Culp to Donovan Campbell, Eric Monroe, Jamal Pettigrew, Marcel Brooks, TK McClendon, Siaka Apuka'aka. Then you have all kind of stuff. You had the suspended guys like Ray Parker. Remember the foolishness he did, or what happened with Peter Parrish and he transferred to Memphis. Remember that? Dante Starks, Ja'Cory Savage, all those dudes, Justin Thomas. I mean, you had some people that could have helped the team. But man, I tell you, man, if people can talk and sugarcoat it however they want to sugarcoat it. But the reality at the end of the day is, I don't care if it's a C-19 or not. If we're going to say it's the C-19, then every goddamn team in college has been playing with the same circumstances. How do you explain that for Alabama? They can still go undefeated, or Clemson or some of these other schools that are playing at a high level of football, regardless of the C-19. The gold standard does not leave. The gold standard does not leave because of the circumstances. Other teams are still accomplishing and having success regardless of whatever environment they're playing in. And that's how champions are made, succeeding regardless of what environment you're playing in. That's the gold standard of football that you're accustomed to at LSU. Now, let's get into this article. No one on LSU's coaching staff should feel safe with their job security. And this is a well-written article from the good folks at the App. They dropped a really article, and it was pretty good. And then, of course, we heard what Coach O said about denial of what we're saying is Tell the Truth Monday, which we actually lie and deny the Truth Monday. That's what it should have been properly called. Now, 2021 basically started for LSU. Halftime of Saturday's Alabama game when they were down 45-17 with no hopes of rescue. The Tigers were done well on their way to a 3-5 record. The season was basically an overweight with slim flicker of a dream upset against the team LSU loves to beat, the most long extinguished. Now, 2 regular season games remaining against Florida, who's ranked number 6. Ole Miss likely following that. To be bowl eligible, you have to be 500. So that's another thing. But what Orgeron said was partially true because he spoke of the re-recruiting draft eligible players who were considering leaving LSU early. To be completely frank, there is no player on this team who couldn't benefit from returning for another year. And, of course, with Orgeron saying this, LSU has worked hard to cultivate the brand of being the NFL SU, the school where you come to prepare for the pros and cash in big. And, of course, we know that. But a lot of people, man, there's a lot of opportunity elsewhere for some of these players. A guy like Arik Gilbert looking to leave, that's really, really big. But also, one thing, let's point this out. After climbing out of the smoking crater, that was the 55-17 loss to Alabama, Orgeron said he would evaluate the program at the end of the season. That means basically his coaching staff. After the way this season is gone, a season rife with a record number of NFL draftees and a core line of injury opt-outs. There can't be anyone on LSU's coaching staff who feels comfortable with the job security, and they shouldn't be. Every position group has underperformed and underwhelmed to a certain degree this season or in multiple games. If you've pressed me, I say the coach whose unit has done the best job is the special teams coordinator, Greg McMahon. There were glitches against Alabama too. Kashawn Butte's kickoff muff that forced LSU to start from its 5-yard line, down 21-0. Remember that? The defense in the second coming of the defensive coordinator, Bo Pelini, has been historically atrocious. Aside from some bright spots at Arkansas and a strong showing against Texas A&M later on. Otherwise, it's been all-time bad performances at one after another, from the record 623-yard pass allowed in Mississippi State's opener to the most ever scored by Alabama against LSU in a game, in which Orgeron admitted that he should have had All-American Derek Stingley on an All-American Alabama receiver Devontae Smith more in coverage. A stunning evaluation. There are similar criticisms for the offense too. LSU had momentum on his first drive against Bama, momentum that evaporated when offensive line brain trust of Ernst Sminger and Linehan sent Tyron Davis-Price into a stonewall instead of sneaking it in with the 6'5" quarterback Finley. LSU did a call for a sneak for Finley later in the game, and he gained 5 yards. Orgeron said they should have called the sneak. He clearly has not done enough to override his coordinators when they make decisions he doesn't like. Coach O, of course, has final decisions to make who gets to remain on his staff or who goes. It's hard to conceive that an assistant or multiple assistants won't go after the season. There's no way to convince boosters, recruits, rank and file fans expected to refill Tiger Stadium in the post-pandemic future that the program is going to make a V-shaped recovery to the championship contention. The question becomes whether Orgeron is the man to make the right hires. His record is mixed. Offensive coordinator Matt Canada was a big miss chemistry-wise. Pelini hasn't panned out. There are numerous other position coach hires, the most striking success by far being former passing game coordinator Joe Brady from the Saints, the straw that mixed the potent concoction that became the incomparable 2019 season. There's no way to tell the future regarding which assistants may go on Orgeron, who he'll bring in to replace those, but there's no way to deny that such moves are critical to Orgeron's future as well. There are still games to win, but 2020 starts right now. Very good article from The Advocate talking about it. And at the top of the list, you got to put Bo Pelini up there. This is just horrible, horrible, horrible defense. Expect learning or growing pains with 2 freshman quarterbacks after Brennan went down. You expect that, but you expect the running game, which LSU's traditionally good at running the football. That didn't happen. That offensive line, another sorry spot for the team. And the defense as a whole, terribly inconsistent from game to game. And, of course, you have Scott Woodward saying that the Tigers will play in a ball game. Yeah, I will see about that. Let's see if you can take care of business with Florida in the swamp. And then we'll talk about bowl games later. We have to take care of business one game at a time, and we'll see if they can do that. Now, let's move into the preview of LSU going against the Florida Gators, in which almost 86% of the nation is picking the Florida Gators to wipe the floor with LSU. And, of course, we look at their talent that will be going up against guys like Kyle Trask, who is 230 of 322, 3,200 yards passing this year. The man has 38 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. It's almost like Mac Jones all over again. And you look at the rushing attack for what LSU's bringing. TD Price is in there, 96 carries. He has 391 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's the top rusher for LSU this year. Just 391 on the rushing attack. That's amazingly low for and we know it's just the running game hasn't really lived up to par. And looking at what Florida's coming into this thing with Damian Pierce is their top rusher, 85 carries for 417 yards and 3 touchdowns. Terrace Marshall has opted out, so LSU will have a bevy of young targets as well. But Florida will have Kadarius Toney, who has 53 grabs for 649 yards and 8 touchdowns. Now, points per game in this thing, LSU averaging just under 29 points per game, but giving up 33.4. That explains why you're 3-5, no doubt about it. Florida, on the other hand, averaging 42 points per game while giving up 25 points per game. Total yards, LSU's 416, 306 through the air, 110 rushing on the ground. Florida averages 503 yards per game. They do 377 through the air, and they rush at 126.2 per contest. And looking at the defensive numbers, 469.1 is what LSU's defense surrenders, 313 yards they surrender through the air, and 156 yards on the ground. This is absolutely pathetic. Defenses of the past that turned in a lot, that were stiff defenses with talent. We still have enough 2, 3, 4 star prospects on LSU defense where they shouldn't be this bad. 381 yards with Florida Gators. A defense surrenders 243 through the air and 138 on the ground. There'd be no way LSU would be able to offensively deal with them or compete with them. The defense will have to show up, and it will have to slow down the Florida Gators offense while our offense builds the rushing attack and action gets our play action going. We're going to need that. It's going to be a tall task to go into the swamp and knock off the Gators. Last contest, of course, the Florida Gators were able to dispatch Tennessee at Tennessee 31-19. And then LSU, of course, a horrible 55-17 just smacked down by Alabama. Prior to that, they lose a close one 20-17 to Texas A&M, number 5th ranked in the country. So 3 straight nationally ranked opponents. Number 5, they lose to Texas A&M. Number 1 ranked Alabama smacks them down. What will Florida do? The last time the Tigers won was back on the 21st of November when they were able to get a 3-point win against Arkansas. Prior to that, they were destroyed by Auburn 48-11. So, I mean, which Tiger team will we get? 2 straight really bad losses. And, of course, to be bowl eligible like Woodard wants, the LSU would have to come up with a win against the Florida Gators in the swamp and then come home for a matchup with Ole Miss the following week. Let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens. Making a prediction on this game, listen, I'm not going to make a prediction. All I'm going to say is this, the fundamentals. If LSU wants to win this game, they're going to have to slow down Florida's offense. The rushing game has to come alive, which means the LSU Tigers offensive line is going to have to do a better job of opening up running lanes for a TD Price. That's the bottom line. If that doesn't happen, they're going to struggle because the game plan for every team that faces LSU is simple. Stop them from running the ball and force the freshman quarterbacks, whether it's Max Johnson or TJ Finley, to force the freshmen to beat them, which more than likely most times the freshmen can't. That's too much pressure for them to hold. So we'll see how it happens. The LSU has to run the ball against that Florida defense, which they'll have opportunities to. But the most important matter is that LSU's defense must slow down Florida, and they cannot allow gashing plays to blow the game open, to keep it out of reach. So this is what I got to call. I mean, it's simple as it can be. And also, before we leave, I want to give a special shout out to LSU's punter, Zach Von Rosenberg. That's right. The Baron was named the Ray Guy Award for semifinalists for the kicking award. As a unit, LSU ranked 2nd in the SEC in net punting with 42.2 average, a national voting by them with football, a subdivision. The FBS reported that Von Rosenberg is named the Ray Guy Award semifinalist. So much love to the Baron Von Rosenberg, and we'll see how he deals with that on the back end. So that'll do it for Tuff Tiger Talk. I appreciate you guys for chiming in on Tuff Tiger Talk. Please hit the like button. If you're a Tuff Tiger Talk fan, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and also share the links everywhere. I mean, everywhere where there are Tiger fans. And as we move in this really tough and tumultuous season, listen, there's a gold standard of LSU football we uphold, man. Coach O can pull the team through this. I'm not going against Coach O. Coach O can pull the team through this. We'll see how he handles it. But there is definitely got to be some skin to pay for the losses here. The boosters, we know the boosters won't tolerate it. And then on top of the list, so I'm saying in a couple of games when the season get over, look to the firing of guys like Bo Pelini. But listen, the writing's on my wall already. I want him up out of here. I want him going. But anyway, you tell me what you guys think. What are your predictions on the Florida game? Give me some scores. You think LSU will surprise Florida in the swamp? If you don't, what do you think? How do you think it ends up? Put your comments in the section, and I'll read them on the next show. I'd like to thank you for joining us on Tuff Tiger Talk. We'll see you on the next broadcast. Go Tigers.
Subscribe to the Tuff Tiger Talk channel and stay